What's up, guys? It is Dan from FightWave, and today I'm joined by one of the most exciting, most captivating fighters on the UFC roster right now. If you know anything about me, you know I love the lightweight division, and more importantly, today's guest has captivated fans with a devastating knockout over Eric Gonzalez, and more importantly, coming off a victory at UFC 294 in Abu Dhabi over Muhammad Yahya. He's one of the most exciting fighters, he's one of the most captivating fighters, and more importantly, he's one of the easiest fighters to root for, in my honest opinion. The pride of Alabama, one of my favorite fighters right now, Trevor Peak. How are we doing today, Trevor?
Good, man. Good, brother. I've been putting in the work. Got me a little bit of downtime for this next training session, but yeah, man, it's been an incredible camp. I believe this is the best one I've ever had. I mean, I know it is, so it's been shaping up to be a good one.
Absolutely, Trevor. And first and foremost, man, congratulations on the victory. We spoke last time in Abu Dhabi, while it was amidst all the, crashing from, the time zone switches and whatnot. I really appreciate it then, and I really appreciate you giving me the time today. First and foremost, talk to me about how everything's been since the victory over Muhammad. I know you were in Abu Dhabi at the time we last spoke. How's everything been since then?
Oh man, everything's been great. I actually I had a few lingering injuries around that time still, so I took me a couple 2 or 3 weeks off, a little bit, not completely off, but tried to let my body heal, and I feel like that paid off, for me. And I've actually been out in Colorado, out here in Denver, for the last, I come out here in the beginning of February, so I mean I've spent pretty much my whole camp out here. I mean, I'm in Dwayne Ludwig's fighter house right now, so it's been, just the level of knowledge and everything that I've been able to gather since I've been out here has been, I mean, out of this world, man. I mean, it's been absolutely incredible.
No, yeah, definitely. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But I want to ask you about just the experience and the fight in Abu Dhabi, because that was a really interesting experience for me to see. Every time I see fighters go over to the UAE and, adjust to the time schedule there and whatnot and fight there, it's always interesting to see how it is for every fighter, because I feel like it's different for everyone. For you, I wanted to ask you just your thoughts on the fight with Muhammad. I know it wasn't the most entertaining fight, but I know you had you went in there, you showcased a lot of improvements there, despite battling some injuries. I know a lot of people were commenting on the patience in your striking and also the improvements in your wrestling. I feel like we saw a more complete Trevor Peak performance in Abu Dhabi. Talk to me a little bit about the performance and just the overall experience of staying in the UAE for the time that you did stay there.
Well, I mean, if everybody's, I mean, everybody's that's watched me throughout my career, they've been able to see that, I've had a pretty hard time bridling back the aggression and just the chaos. And, for the Yaya camp, I mean, me and Matt Harris got together and we put like 226 hours in on the ground. And, my main focus throughout the camp was trying to be composed inside that octagon, man. I mean, I was honestly, I feel like I was too composed. I feel like there was moments I should have stayed on him. I should have stayed engaged, and really, I feel like I could have got him out of there if I would have. But the world don't understand like how much trouble I've had like bridling myself back. I mean, it has been probably my biggest like flaw, I would say, is trying to be composed and not just be incredibly wild and just a madman in there. But I mean, I learned that I can stay composed. I just got to still add that chaos in there whenever it's time for it. But as far as the experience over in UAE, man, I mean, we had a great time. The time change was a little difficult on us for first couple of days. I don't know if Torres ever got adjusted to it. I mean, I, yeah, I think that Joker slept during the day the whole time we was there. But yeah, man, it was a fun experience. I mean, other than the plane ride there and plane ride back, I mean, I pretty well enjoyed everything over there, other than the curry. I'm not a big fan of the curry, man, and everything over there tasted like curry. But yeah, we had a good time, man. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to ever going, to going back. I mean, it was a fun experience, and there's so many people over there that aren't Emiratis. They're like, kind of contracted in. They come in as immigrants and stuff like that over there. So I kind of figured like most of the people over there would be for Yaya, but it kind of worked out to where I was almost the poor people's champ over there. And, everybody kind of, for the most part, unless they was Emirati, I had a lot of people rooting for me over there, man. So that part was very shocking to me. I mean, I really thought we'd be having everybody against us over there, but it wasn't like that at all. But it was fun, man.
No, yeah, definitely. And I wanted to ask you just out of curiosity, what was your kind of biggest takeaway from, fighting maybe in the Emirates? You mentioned kind of like a lot of people coming in. I feel like that's kind of something that's gone overlooked. But what would be your biggest takeaway from maybe the fight that you had in Abu Dhabi, and maybe the fight that you have stateside on the regional scene? Like, what would you say was one of the biggest differences that you kind of noticed as you were walking into the cage?
Just as far as myself goes, just knowing that I can stay composed. I mean, that was the biggest takeaway I took away from everything was just knowing that I can control myself a little bit, you know. I mean, as far as like the fight and how everything played out, I mean, it was pretty similar to, the shows that I've been to over here. Like when I fought Chepe down in Jacksonville, I mean, there wasn't nothing too different except for I noticed everybody in UAE, all their security guards are huge, man. Like when me and my coaches was talking about it, we was like, man, we need all them boys over at back home training them. I mean, they're all yoked over there, man. They don't mess around with their security, that's for sure.
No, yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's just remarkable to hear the experience that you had in the UAE, and more importantly, to get the victory there. I feel like you said, just not opposed to new experiences. And just to come back to what we were talking about a little bit ago about Colorado, you mentioned coming to Colorado in the beginning of February and training with at Bang Muay Thai and conditioning with Dwayne Ludwig. I feel like one of the most under talked about coaches in MMA right now. I want to ask you a little bit about the experience. I assume it's not your first time in Colorado, or maybe it is your first time. What's the experience like coming over to Colorado, unfamiliar territory a little bit, and just training with the likes of Dwayne Ludwig and the guys over in Denver, Colorado?
I mean, the best word I can describe it, man, would be a blessing. I mean, really, everybody that knows anything about MMA and has been around the game for a long time, they know what a renowned world-class coach Dwayne Ludwig is. And I even knew that myself, coming up here. I mean, he was my, striking coach's all-time favorite fighter. So, I mean, I knew when I got up here, man, that I would grow and I would develop, but I've said this multiple times on other podcasts and stuff. I really didn't know this trip would do for me mentally what it's done for me, man. It's kind of, relit old flame. It's kind of helped spark up some old stuff back up, and I feel focused. Had a couple of things pop up back home that was a mild distraction, but for the most part, man, this has been. I've really been able to invest all my time and energy into this camp and stay pretty focused. All my other camps have been pretty sporadic, and I've had a lot of stuff going on and that required a lot of my energy. But I've been able to really dive head first into this thing and apply everything I got to it. And the Ludwigs and all these people that I've been fortunate enough to go train with over at like high altitude martial arts and Vinny Lopez's place and Leister Bowling. Man, it's incredible, man. Before I got here, this actually is my first trip to Colorado, and I knew there was some good fighters up this way and a couple of good coaches, but man, I had no idea that right here around Denver it was such a hub for MMA. I mean, there's just so many UFC fighters and world class coaches up in this area, and then you obviously get the benefits of training at high altitude, and I'm looking forward to going to Vegas and seeing how that extra gas tank feels because man, for the first 2.5 weeks I was here, I felt like I was breathing with a cloth around my mouth. I mean, it was rough, but it's been cool, man. It's been real cool.
No, yeah, definitely. And like you said, I know you're no stranger to putting yourself in these difficult positions in order to grow, especially in MMA, I want to ask you just a little bit about, like you said, training over in high altitude mixed martial arts, training at Bang Muay Thai with Dwayne Ludwig. There's so many high quality gyms in Colorado. And I even imagine you got some rounds with the bigger guys like the Neil Magny's, the Drew Dobers over at high altitude. Talk to me about just the ability to get into some of these rooms and maybe how it stacks up compared to some other rooms that you would trade in. Because I feel like the level, like you said, in Colorado, it is a whole other level. I know they have the Olympic, I think the Olympic training grounds there. It's a big sports hub overall. So just to have the amount of amenities and resources, it really does do dividends for a fighter.
Yeah, man, it is crazy. As far as back home, we're all still kind of fighting each other, all the local gyms and everything. It seems like we're all competing with each other, whereas up here, it seems like most of the gyms up here, like their competition's a little stiffer. Like most of the guys in each of these gyms, they're either fighting UFC, PFL, Cage Warriors, or some big regional scene promotion. So it's almost like everybody around this area is having to rely on each other more because the competition's stiffer. Whereas back home, we're still competing against each other. So we haven't really come together and used each other like they're using up here, man. So that part's been pretty refreshing and pretty cool to see. And they do something, I've been fortunate enough to train out in Las Vegas too, and they kind of got similar idea out there. I don't know if they rely on each other as much as it seems like they do here in Colorado, but out in Vegas they kind of do the same thing, man. But yeah, just how organized everything is and how well everybody gets along and uses each other, man, it's something refreshing and hopefully something, I can maybe one of these days get everybody on back home into doing, maybe relying on each other and using each other, man. So that part's been really refreshing and neat to see.
No, yeah, definitely. And just to go back to what you said a little bit ago, Trevor, you spoke about how this trip really just impacted you, not just physically and as a fighter, but also really improved your mental state in the fight game, and really, like you said, reinvigorated and lit up an old flame that you didn't even know would have been present. I want to ask a little bit about that, because I feel like in fighting, we see a lot of times fighters, they go and they love the sport, but that's kind of love and that fire kind of fades away. I want to ask you, how is the trip maybe more or less with Dwayne, like you mentioned in the very beginning, just the room that you're in with Dwayne Ludwig and a lot of those other guys. How has that kind of lit up your love for the sport again, or maybe just really helped you find and rediscover the Trevor Peak of old and bringing him in with the Trevor Peak of new?
Well, I mean, man, there's just been so much stuff that's happened over the course of my life, and it's kind of like I've been telling all my friends and stuff back home, man. I mean, I've never lost the belief that I could become a champion. I mean, I've got one of the strongest chins in the UFC, I feel like. I mean, my power matches with anybody in the lightweight division, and just the grittiness and my willingness to win is, like I said, I've never really lost hope that I could become a champion. But as far as just the fire and the madness and the craziness, like get lost in your craft and really just really focus on wanting to become a champion, like that's something I've been missing for a long time. And I kind of just was in one of them fake it till you make it kind of attitudes, I guess, just grinding until hopefully that feeling and that fire came back. But since I got up here and Dwayne's coached world champions. I mean, he, with Dillashaw and everything, and he himself being a world champion. So getting up here around somebody that's coached world champions, and to see Dwayne believe in me like he does, and encourage me, and nothing he's told me has been a lie. I feel like, I mean, everything he's told me has been genuine. So to have somebody that's coached a champion, been a champion themselves, and believing in you, and thinking that they can make you become a champion, man. And just the good people I've been around up here since I've been here, man. And like I said, being able to put most of my energy and focus into this camp, it just all combined collectively has helped me, just mentally, man, so much. I mean, Dwayne and them don't. I mean, there ain't enough words in the world for me to put into how much I appreciate them giving me this opportunity and stuff, man. It's just been such a blessing.
No, yeah, and that's one thing I love about fighters is when they see another fighter is a little bit down on their luck, or more or less just kind of they see something is up or something's not 100% there, they really rally around them. And I feel like in Colorado we see a lot of amazing fighters that come there and really just they realign with their love for the sport. And I feel like we've really seen them with you over the past few weeks or so at the time you've been in Colorado. And more importantly, the Colorado outdoors, Trevor, for a boy from Alabama, it doesn't necessarily compare, but it is relatively nicer than a lot of other places you'd be fortunate enough to train. I want to ask you first and foremost, how is the Colorado wildlife maybe stuck up or stacked up to the Alabama wildlife, and also conditioning with coyotes, huh? Going out there and conditioning and trying to catch a coyote never goes wrong. Talk to me a little bit about the outdoors, how that's maybe stacked up with Alabama, and just the excitement of somewhere new. I feel like a lot of the times going and training somewhere new, people kind of overlook the importance of nature. But what's that been like? Just training in the outdoors of Colorado when you get the chance.
It's been pretty cool, man. Whenever you get to, whenever you see things back home, you see all the same things, day in and day out, you kind of can lose I guess the gratefulness of you are towards like God's artwork and with his nature and stuff, man. So being able to come up here and see this different mountain terrain and just the way the land lays out, it really like reminds you like how beautiful of an artist God really is and stuff, man. And as far as the wildlife goes, man, I'm getting to see stuff out here I don't typically get to see. I still ain't got to see an elk. We hadn't really ventured off too far. We've been pretty much just training, training, training. But I've got to see some prairie dogs and some mule deer and stuff like that I ain't never seen before. So they better be glad I ain't got a bow and arrow up here. That's all I'm saying.
Gotta take Trevor Peak hunting. Colorado just remarkable. The outdoors. Everything about Colorado. It speaks to the best of the nature in the states, and more importantly, like you said, we gotta get Trevor Peak a bow and arrow, and maybe after fight camp go hunting or something. That's gotta happen, and more importantly, Trevor. I know for you how important faith is, and I know that for you, you lead with faith in MMA, and I know in part that you would attribute some of your results to just the strength that you have in your faith and how it's led you kind of to be able to continue and keep pushing forward in MMA. I wanted to ask you just in terms of how far that's maybe helped you. I know we spoke about it previously in our last interview, but I wanted to kind of touch up on that a little bit. I wanted to ask you just how much your faith maybe, and if this is too personal, feel free not to answer. But I wanted to ask you just in terms of how much your faith has helped you through the tough times in MMA, and more importantly, just through the tough times like you mentioned, being able to come over to Colorado. How has that maybe helped you as a fighter, and just being able to put your trust in God, as I know that's very important for you.
I mean, it's literally everything, man. I mean, I just feel sorry for the people in the world that don't really have faith or don't really know what it's about to put your faith into God and let Him guide the way, man. I mean, I tried to. I ventured off, man. I chased after worldly things. I've tried to create opportunity for myself with this whole MMA stuff, and just seems like I always get myself in a mess somehow or another, man. And then once I just kind of stepped aside, and I'm like, all right, God, like I've tried to, create all these opportunities for myself. I've been lustful. I've had worldly desires, and I've drifted away from you, and tried to get back in line with God and let him kind of take the wheel for a little bit, man. And then I'm in Dwayne Ludwig's fighter house. You know what I mean? So I mean, we can all try to, I guess, go our own way and everything, and make everything happen for ourselves. But ultimately, at the end of the day, man, God's going to do what He wants to do, and His plan's going to be His plans. Now, we can make a mess out of everything, man, and ultimately He can usually turn it around and flip it and make it good. But it's just so much easier if you stay on course and keep your faith with Him, right, man, and just stay the course. Like I said, but it is everything to me, man. There's when I want to quit. I mean, God helps me stay in line, just I owe Him everything, man. I mean, my discipline, just everything I've got going on in my life right now is just only because God has mercy on me.
Beautiful. And Trevor, thank you so much for sharing that first and foremost. Just always amazing to hear what the importance and, power of faith does for the fighters. I know not every fighter is as faithful as you are, but it's always remarkable to hear the impact that it has on fighters like yourself. And more importantly, Trevor, I want to ask you, because you've got the Peak Nation hat on right now. I've got to ask you, just because I feel like Peak Nation, we talk about other fan bases, but Peak Nation hasn't been getting the love that it deserves amongst the MMA brass. What they've done in a short time with you at the helm and just behind you, it feels like we've got an army, and it's not even in comparison to some of the other fan bases sizes, but the way that they make noise is unparalleled to any other fighter stateside, I feel like, right now. Talk to me a little bit about Peak Nation, and more importantly, just what it's meant for you to feel this overwhelming amount of love surrounding you, and how that's maybe lit the fire going into April 6th against Charlie Campbell.
Oh man, every hair on my body standing up. You start talking about you start talking about the Peak Nation fans, man. They're lit, man. I'm just been on the regional scene, making it to the UFC and been able to fight in an arena over here. You're right, man. I mean, I know there's people that's got a bigger following than I got, but man, the following that I do have, they are incredibly loyal. I mean, incredibly caring too. I mean, there's so many people that's been part of Peak Nation that have just impacted my life, so much, man, and just ultimately they're what they've kept me going, man. Been able to, once upon a time be viewed poorly in my community to now I can go back home and see little kids wearing Peak Nation shirts, and it's just It's a blessing, man. I mean, it really is. I hate that this next spot's in the Apex and tickets are $4,000 a pop. Because I mean, I'll take a crowd with me if they'll put me up in an arena, man. But it's gonna be one of them things. I'll have a few people there, but I mean, I'll just have to keep improving and keep raising my stock, man. They'll put me back in them arenas. But yeah, man, Peak Nation, I miss you guys. Y'all are the best.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. We gotta nuke or gut the Apex at this point, man. I feel like it's a disservice to the fighters. It's a disservice to you to have to fight in that Apex with no crowd. After what we saw against Chepe Mariscal in Jacksonville, I feel like we need Trevor Peak in front of a crowd. It just doesn't feel right otherwise. And I guess I should say, Trevor, to have the opponent that you have in front of you, I feel like this is 50K either performance of the night or fight of the night written all over it. Talk to me about the fight with Charlie Campbell and what excites you about the fight. Maybe just, the preparation. You mentioned just being able to be a little bit more patient, but not too patient to where you deviate from what makes you so special as a fighter. What's the preparation been like and just the excitement about the matchup?
Oh man, I'm fired up. I mean, I want to knock that guy out. I mean, I don't guess it's anything personal, but I mean, I've watched a bunch of his interviews and he's just super cringy to me. And yeah, just the preparation for it. Like I said, getting up here and getting refreshed and getting a new look at it and everything, man, it's just add that much more excitement to the actual fight itself. And Dwayne keeps me pretty fired up about it, man. Whenever we're watching film and stuff, you can see the wheels turning, and he's getting into it. So we're just all excited and ready to go and throw some hands, man. I told my buddy the other day, I said, by the time this camp's over with, man, I said I'm gonna be ready to whoop somebody. I was like, I'm just so tired, but yeah, I agree, man. I mean, I definitely think there should be a bonus. I don't know where it's going to come from. I don't know if it's going to be fight of the night or knockout of the night, but I mean, I'm looking for knockout of the night. Them fight of the nights take a little longer to recover from. But yeah, man, that 50 would be nice. As far as the rest of the card goes, man, I mean, I would hope we're on the main card. I mean, I feel like I feel like as far as entertainment purposes, maybe not, seniority have been there longer, but as far as entertainment purpose, I feel like our fight is matching up to be one of the most entertaining on the card, if not the most entertaining. So maybe they'll put us on the main card, man. I sure hope so.
No, yeah, definitely. I hope it's that main card opener. More importantly, kick the card off with a bang. And Trevor, I want to thank you so much for your time. It's always a privilege and honor to speak with you, to get the fighter's perspective and be able to pick your brain. It's always a privilege just to hear you speak and be able to, take in what you say. I really do feel like, for me, the biggest blessing in these interviews is getting the perspective from the fighters. Without you guys, this is impossible. So I want to thank you for that first and foremost. And to the fans at home watching, any final message to the Peak Nation at home or fans of Trevor Peak or FightWave that may be watching this interview?
Yeah, I just want to, everybody in Peak Nation, just thank you guys for loving and believing in me throughout this career, man. Y'all have been my heart. I mean that with every fiber in my being. I mean, I really would have quit if it wasn't for you guys and, just my family and friends and everybody back home. Thank you guys for, just everything. I mean, I really, really appreciate it. All my coaches, all my teammates at Agogi Combatives, I thank you guys for instilling in me everything you've instilled in me. And just most importantly, overall, I just want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, man, because like we was talking about earlier, man, I mean, this interview, my hand getting raised as many times as it has, I mean, just the goodness of my life, none of it's possible without a relationship with Jesus. So, I mean, I just want everybody in the world to know that, like, you ain't got to go through life alone. You know what I mean? Like we all beat ourselves up and we all feel like we're unworthy, even if we are trying to do what's right. It's easy to get in our own heads, but you can have a friend that walks with you through this life, and his name's Jesus. And I strongly encourage you to seek and search for him, and you'll never regret it. And thank you for having me on, man. I mean, this is, like I told you before it started, this is you're one of my favorite people to do interviews with. So, I always, anytime, brother, anytime I'll do one with you, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate the words, Trevor. It really does mean a lot. And to you, thank you just for so much for the message and for just the words of inspiration. I feel like somebody will take from this and, be able to kickstart their life like where you were a few years back, the journey that you took with your faith, the spiritual journey to get to where you are now. we're only about to see the next Trevor Peek because of impacts and the words and the message that you press, and just to be able to see you put forward that message. And I think it's just only a matter of time till we see someone have a similar journey, if not better, than that of Trevor Peek. So thank you so much for your time. To the fans at home watching, April 6th, Charlie Campbell, Trevor Peek will be facing Charlie Campbell April 6th. Don't miss that fight. It's going to be an amazing fight. Should be on the main card. Hopefully, it'll be on the main card. It's been me, Dan, from FightWave. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed this interview. Do be sure to like, comment, subscribe. I will be linking Trevor's social medias in the description down below. As I always like to say, support your local fighter. It goes a long way, more than you can imagine. It's been me, Dan, from FightWave again. Have a great day, guys.